Okay, here we go. Welcome to the Fargo Parking Commission. We'll start out with introductions. Jim, you want to start?
Jim Gilmore, City of Fargo.
Brian Hare, downtown business owner.
Margie Bailey, Parking Commissioner and Executive Director of Fargo Theater, retired.
Mike Williams, Risk Manager.
Randy Thorson, downtown business owner.
Jay Kravenhoff, Gate City Bank.
Dave Peppercorn, Fargo City Commission.
Paul Schnettler, Interstate Parking.
Vanessa Hernandez, Interstate Parking.
Mark Williams, Fargo Planning.
Miranda Wolf, Fargo Planning.
Thanks, everybody, and Merry Christmas. Thanks for, it's been a little while since we've met, so it's good to see everybody here. The first item is to approve the order of agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The next item is to approve the minutes from October 25th, 2018. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the next item is to welcome Vanessa, our new parking manager. Welcome.
Thank you.
So,
Happy to be here.
yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you find Interstate Parking, or how did they find you?
How did we find hers?
Good luck. I mean, I was in between jobs and interviewed with Andy and really felt a connection with Andy. And went there, and it's been the best thing ever.
Great.
I mean,
So how
really.
long have you been with them?
3.5 years.
Oh, with Interstate Parking?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Vanessa's been running our back office since, 3.5 years. Intimately involved with everything that goes around here. We're a small office, turned Andy, basically. So we've given her the title interim manager right now because she wants to test it out to make sure it's the right fit for her. So I've got tons of confidence, and we've talked about expanding to Texas, her original hometown, and she would be my first choice to manage an operation down there. So I think this is, I got to convince her that she's got the skills to do it. And she's been doing a great job for the past couple of weeks. Andy left on very good terms. He found a different job in a different field. We're still in communications with him, so it's been a great transition. We couldn't thank Andy enough for running things for the past few years.
Yep. Well, we really enjoyed working with Andy. He's a good guy, and again, I can't see leaving without being on good terms with him. He's just a good guy, and he's helped us a lot. So we'll miss him, but we're also happy for your opportunity, Vanessa, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So next item on the agenda is the October Financial Operations Report. Paul?
Okay, and this will be, eventually we'll turn it back over to Vanessa, but she has been inundated with operations. We've had a ton of some internet connection issues, some gate issues, things like that. So she's been trial by fire, so I'm going to take this stuff this month. We've got October and November in here. We really loaded you guys down with a lot of information this month, more than normal. It kind of goes to a lot of the analytics that are at our hands that we have available as needed. I won't go into that stuff in depth. There's no surprises with operations, revenue, expenses are all as planned. We did miss a couple things this year. I want to apologize to Randy. We didn't get all of our seals, cracks sealed this year in all of our surface lots. And that slipped through the cracks, so I apologize to Randy. So
Is that a pun? It slipped through the cracks?
No, hopefully there's no slipping on any cracks. But it didn't look as bad, but we do like to do that every year just to make sure that they don't expand and stuff. So I think that was a transition thing that Andy knew he was going to be leaving, and he kind of fell off his radar. And, so I apologize for that.
Well, Paul, it's really important, that's why I kept bringing it up with Andy. This is the time of year when you get water in those cracks, and that's what it's actually going to break up the asphalt. We have some of those concerns, right now in a couple of the surface lots.
Yep.
And some of the cracks have grown since last year, so it's very, very important. And that, and, the fences and just the way these look, it's very, very important to downtown and all the changes that we've made. So it was one of the reasons I stayed, on top of that with Andy, and really was surprised that didn't get done this year.
Yeah, so I saw that, and I do apologize for that.
Yeah.
So we will fix it first thing this spring. Usually we do it summer, fall, heading into the season, but we'll do it right away this year after we get our cleaning and stretching.
Well, prior to doing that too, if you could take a look if there's any soft spots, because, they're going to create the soft spots in the breakup, next spring. So it probably would be wise to wait till after spring to see
Oh, yeah.
if there's really any
Gotta get dry,
damage,
yeah.
to dry up. All right.
But I'm pretty sure we're done with the snow for the year, so that's going to help.
We'll make it.
Randy, are you going to bring your backhoe into town?
You know, I could certainly come in and help you guys.
Could you bid on the project for me?
Yeah, I could do that. The one year, you know, we did do the trees.
Yeah.
We brought in a lot of equipment. Jim Gilmore thought it, you know, that I had too much equipment there, but, you know, that's how you get these jobs done.
Mr. Chairman, so it's you running the backhoe and him? I think we need to get extra insurance as far as the city is concerned. That could be, that's a photo op, though.
Yeah. Well, he'll have the backhoe, I'll take the skid steer.
There you go.
We'll get this thing done.
Well, sorry, back to our numbers here, but if you look prior year over year, the revenue is down a little bit. That's due to, you know, the loss of a Second Avenue South lot. The Third Avenue lot is gone now. Couple things going on at GTC where we had to relocate some people out of there for a while, so everything is as expected. Yeah, Roco is plugging along kind of better than expected, too.
I just wanted to point out one thing on that Roco, and I just kind of compare it to the Civic Center ramp. You know, the Civic Center ramp, we charge you as soon as you start to park there, and even with the hotel revenue, we made, I think, $5,600 in November. In Roco, we give people the first 12 hours, or first 2 hours free, and our revenue is $12,000 a month. So even though we're providing 2 hours free, it's gotten more people to use it. They probably had to stay longer downtown because there's so many good things to do. And then we've made really much more than we projected on the hourly parking at Roco. So that's been a good thing for our finances for the long term, to see that these ramps can, if we can bring in some money on that kind of hourly revenue, which we really haven't relied on as much in the past.
What did you say the revenue is monthly on the Civic?
What, 5,600?
Wow, double.
Well, it's double even. I mean, we have more, you know, spots available probably, but still it's getting good use. The only month that it was low was when we had the street all blocked off and we couldn't charge people because we only had one way in, one way out. So, but it's been consistently, seems to be going up $9,000, $10,000 a month now, $12,000 in November. So,
Thanks.
It's been a success story.
and that's with 2 hours free and free in the evenings on weekends, and we still get some good revenue out of it during the day.
Right. Anything else on the report?
Just unless anybody has any questions, you can review it at your leisure.
Yeah. Anybody have anything for Paul? Okay, thanks a lot, Paul. The next item is to discuss the schedule, contents, and participants of the January parking retreat. And I thought it'd just be good for us to talk over what might the agenda look like. So, Jim?
There are probably two main things I'd like to discuss, and, you know, I think back to the parking retreat we had, I don't know, was it 4 or 5 years ago, when we said, you know, what are we going to do for a new facility, and that seemed to kick off. We, you know, got some studies done in terms of where ramps could be. We put together an RFP eventually, and several years later, we were open with another parking facility. So, and where we sit today is that if we call up Vanessa and say, how many spots do I have open at our different facilities, with the exception of Island Park, we really don't have, you know, that monthly parking available downtown, and even some of the short-term, you know, parking, we don't see what's, you know, we don't have that much on the north end of Broadway, a little bit further away. And so what I really wanted to do is to, you know, spend a few hours and think of, okay, what other sites are there for future parking facilities? Kind of where do we go from here? We've got Block 9 underway now. We know that's definitely going to happen. You'll start to see concrete going up next year. We know when that's going to open. We know when they're going to use it. But what do we want to try to accomplish over the next probably 3 years in terms of facility development? And so I've been doing some research, and Aaron in the planning office has helped me identify some different sites. There's some of the same ones we had looked at several years ago, but just talking about how we can do additional public-private partnerships to develop new parking facilities downtown. And so I think that's one of the goals, is to try to see if there's some consensus on where do we go from here. I'd actually like to have the meeting, you know, more in the first half of January than later, because the longer we wait, the longer it takes to get going on anything. Just kind of looking ahead, we have, the Block 9 garage will be done, sometime next summer. It won't be fully utilized until probably 6 to 8 months later, and so I think there's a window there where we should try to be getting into the ground maybe next, summer or fall with another facility if we can figure out how to finance it and if we can find a site that would work. So I want to spend some time on that. The second thing is just kind of our organization here, and we've had, 5 members on this parking commission, and so are there other people we feel should be involved, sitting at the table here? Should, do you want to have some non-voting members, possibly from the DCP, possibly from, is this the right size board? I think it works well, but I really want to get your thoughts on how much more involvement we need to have at this table as far as redevelopment. We're going to suggest that rather than kind of just sitting around this table, that we look at this Meadowlark room over in the new City Hall. It's got a big whiteboard, some TV monitors, so if you need to look up some information, so we can have more of a interactive meeting and kind of roll up our sleeves and figure out, well, where do we want to go from here, and suggest that we try to at least block out about 3 hours, maybe like from 9 o'clock to noon, someday, and we can talk about that. And so that's my vision of what I'd like to do with the retreat, and say, plus, look at the background information, what facilities do we have now, how are they doing, so everybody's kind of on the same page in terms of understanding how our system's operating today, what's good and what isn't. So I hope they don't come through the wall here.
Yeah.
Commissioner Pepcorn.
Starting to get a little nervous
So,
here.
Mr. Chair, so a couple of things. I think we should make sure we have Interstate there.
Certainly.
Because I
Yeah.
think they could also give us maybe their perspective on what they would see we would need too. I think they could help us with theirs. The other thing is the whole online parking management on street parking, not just facility parking. If they have tools and if we have more tools, because I think that's something that down the road we're getting more dense in the downtown, and so we have to have some more tools. And so maybe they have experience with that, or maybe we should have an outside group or whatever. Give us some ideas. I don't know.
So,
I think
right, so, we've gone now with passport parking, so Dave and I have had this conversation, and I think I've had it with Steve before, and with you, Paul, about what are the capabilities, even if we don't have meters, just for us to know what the state of the art is, what the opportunities are for, using your smartphone. You go to Passport in Chicago, you get to plug in your spot, it's a nice deal, same thing in Minneapolis. So, I think there's some capability there that we may not be aware of, and if maybe we could even have a session to bring us up to speed on what some of the available technology might be that may apply whether we have
Yeah.
meters or not.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. We do a lot of that stuff on street or off street right now in our surface lots. To expand it to the streets, it's a little difficult here because there's no payment for on-street stuff, and you can't get people to use an app if it's free parking. All they can do is time stamping, but we can come up with some good things to talk
But
about.
with our license plate recognition, we know where those cars are, and there might be some way to show where there's some vacancies. I don't know.
So,
Dave?
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to be too devious, but so one way would be, let's say you have a 15-minute parking sign, but then if we figured out a way saying, if you want to stay longer, just pay this fee on your app with a credit card. And so then we don't have a meter. However, I don't know, there might be a way that we can go around. And that's just one of those thoughts. But I do think part of us is we got to look 20 years or 50 years down the road. That's part of our job as a parking thing. And what are going to be the things? That's why I hope we use this for. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys or not, but I just think that's part of our job is to look at other options. But the downtown, it's changing and it's awesome, but it's more dense. You can just feel it. There's more people all the time, and so you got to have ways to manage. I think we need more tools. So.
Well, and I think the visioning is really important, obviously, but I also think looking historically is important too. So I would like to have a review of the parking study that we did a few years ago, so that we're not just reinventing the wheel. And we could look at that and then look at it in relation to current numbers, current statistics, that kind of thing. If whoever is responsible for that kind of data keeping can bring that data to the table. The other thing that we talked about, I think at the last meeting, is that we need to integrate more or have more connection to, more communication with other city departments. And Mark can make recommendations on how do we accomplish that? You know, how do we get better communication going between parking and engineering, parking and planning? And maybe you do that, you know, at your level within your department, but I'm not sure that filters down to the parking commission members particularly. And so I would, again, it's answering questions that you just get kind of out of the blue. You know, you need your elevator conversation if you're a parking commissioner. You really need to know what other areas of the city are doing and how it relates to what the decision-making that we're doing. I think it's really important, and I think this is the opportunity for us to be able to really look at that in depth and in private, I guess, sort of, just to really, really take a close look at that. So I think visioning is important, but I also think that we need to be strategic. We need to get to that vision strategically and not just look there and then only focus on that, because we have things that need to be done in the interim. So it needs to be a strategic plan as well as a vision.
I think that's a really good point in that, you know, we've done the, you know, the GO 2030, but then also the downtown master plan, and there's some work there that we certainly want to make sure we're not overlooking that could be helpful with
Well,
our.
it concerns me that we put these
build
reports
on.
just on the shelf
Right.
somewhere, and we don't go back and review and see how it really relates to what the decision-making that we're currently doing. And I've seen that happen frequently, not only in this organization,
Yeah,
but
right.
in a lot of organizations. And then it becomes a waste of time and an exercise in nothingness
Yeah,
or
you're-
something.
It's an opportunity to build on work that's already been done.
Exactly.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, as I look back at the work that Carl Walker and Craig Galinsky had done, you know, a lot of that information is still relevant in terms of what these
Yep.
sites, you know, were identified as working well. Back then, if you look at the sites today, they're probably still the best locations for us to look at for future facilities. Adding that on-street component, how do we want to manage our, you know, our on-street parking, talk about that, because that's certainly used a lot for that short-term parking, as well as the, you know, the 4-hour zones, take a look at how those are working. And several years ago, Paul had put together kind of our technology plan for how our different facilities would operate, and I think trying to update that. For instance, we've talked in the past about how do we add hourly parking at the Island Park ramp, and so, you know, that's one where there's more open gates where a passport type system might work really well at that facility. We haven't, you know, pulled the trigger on that, and so I think, you know, taking another look at that technology plan, and I've even, you know, as we look at, you know, additional facilities, the other thing I was thinking about, I'm sure you've thought about this too, is that with the reconstruction of Main Avenue, you know, the potential for redevelopment, you know, maybe our Main Avenue lot should be sold for development. You know, it's not, we've got a parking garage right across the street, that might bring us some revenue for future facilities, as well as kind of bring that street more active. We can have, you know, housing and retail on that corner rather than a surface parking lot.
Right. Mr.
So I don't
Pepcorn.
want to have too much discuss, but I think we have to be, I would be in favor of selling that, but I would rather sell it after Main Avenue is all done, and the value of that property is going to go up tremendously.
Yeah.
So I look at this stuff as it's our stuff. I would rather sell it after it's gone up in value, because once Main Avenue is reconstructed, that site is going to be prime real estate. Right now, my perception is that's not really prime. Anyway, I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think that that's a good point. And their city, with the acquisitions along the riverfront and other areas, all of our surface parking lots, we've seen in the Roberts project what incredible value we can bring to these flat surface parking lots. 210 new
Yeah.
residents and 30 new businesses, and more, 2.5 times the parking on the same flat lot.
Exactly.
So we don't want to undersell ourselves. Plus, we get a little bit, the city has a little opportunity to put out the type of proposal that makes them reach some criteria. So the types of use, the types of design, things like that. So they have a little bit of opportunity to make it as good as it can be. So thanks. Anything else on the,
No, if you have any other ideas.
what do you think about schedule then? What are we thinking about site and schedule?
Lady said the middle.
I think this
Meadowlark?
Meadowlark room.
Yeah, that'd be great.
If it's available, and I was gonna just see if, you know, either the 10th or the 11th of January from, or even the 9th, that there's a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday that would work.
What are you thinking, half a day, 3 hours? What?
I'm thinking 3 hour, try to
Yeah.
block out 3 hours, I think, if we,
On which day, Jim?
either the 9th, 10th, or 11th of January.
State of the city.
I'll be
You're
out
gonna
of the
be gone?
country.
Okay, when are you back? When are you here?
I'm here till the 5th of January, but I'll be back in my office on the 21st. For 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Can we conference in?
Probably be,
Difficult?
yeah, it's kind of hard to participate, unless we try to do something on the, I don't know, Friday the 4th, is that too, that might be a little soon, but.
I'm going to be in Frisco, Texas.
Ah.
That makes two of us.
Tell him I'm a big football fan.
I guess that's a perfect time.
It is. No, yeah, that's all right.
Is the 21st too late?
I think, yeah, it's the MLK Day, but maybe do it in the morning of the 22nd, would that be?
It'd just be nice to have
Yeah,
everybody
I'd
on
like to
board.
have everyone here.
Yeah.
Is everybody else available? Not just my schedule.
I mean,
Well, I think it's important to have, you know, your voice in this, really.
I'm not singing.
Who else, but who else can I argue with?
you know, our,
I could be here.
I mean, our regular meeting's on the 24th, unless we just want to wait
Yeah.
until then.
Doesn't matter.
Anyone, anything after that?
Actually, I'm going to be gone then, so 22nd works good.
How about the
Yeah.
22nd?
Yep.
At 9
Okay.
to,
Does that work for you, Brian? Yep. Jay?
yes.
Great.
Why don't you try to block out 9 to 1, maybe we can even bring in a lunch and we wrap up.
What is that, Tuesday?
Tuesday,
Okay.
22nd. Mark, do you want to see if we can get the Meadowlark room?
So then, as far as inviting people, I thought it would be good, not necessarily for the whole term, but at least to have transit participate to a degree, and engineering, and DCP, and bring, maybe invite Britt from NDSU, parking, just to have, you know, touch base with those guys to see if they're interested in some kind of more participation. Dave?
How about the downtown neighborhood?
Yeah,
group? That's
DNA.
another one that, and if anybody else thinks of other, so to me, I think we should invite, you know, whoever is interested and maybe have a public thing, even though it's for, I think there's lots of
Well,
people
I
that would
think
be
we can
interested
do
in.
that. I
don't
think
know.
we should do that, but I don't think for this strategic
No,
planning, maybe
that's fine.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm just a liaison, you're the chair, so I'm
yeah,
just,
no,
I'm
but
throwing stuff
I'm-
out.
I think it's good that we want to be more inclusive.
Right.
So again, it just doesn't all have to happen
Okay.
at this meeting, is that right?
No, but I do think, I really like the idea of connecting with NDSU.
Right.
I think that we have attempted to engage them in the past, haven't really been terribly effective at doing that, but I think that's becoming, you know, critical with the downtown campuses.
Right.
That's really important.
And Rob
Yeah.
Lynch, you know, used to
Yeah.
come a lot when he was there, so.
Maybe the first hour, we could invite some people in to give a,
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, how's NDSU dealing with parking downtown? We'll kind of think of some other things, and
Maybe make it 3.5 hours, how about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Anything else on that?
Paul?
Yep, Ren.
Wonderful, thanks. Do you think, should we plan a different time to get a tech update from Passport or whatever you think? I mean, that's, maybe we can do that at the next regular
Well,
scheduled
we can maybe
meeting.
give some highlights and overviews, and
Okay,
then you guys can kind of give me some direction where you
Yeah.
go from there.
okay, thanks. All right, so I invited Jeremy because we've had some discussions about, you know, construction and you know, notifications, things like that. And actually, Christy Schmidt's working on this very hard. She's just on vacation right now, and Jeremy's going to pinch hit. So welcome, Jeremy.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Thanks.
Those of you that might not know me, I'm Jeremy Gordon, city traffic engineer. So I can highlight on a couple things. So first, Mike came and visited last week. He didn't bring any meat and cheese trays, but that's okay. We still let him in the door. So, you know, what's happening downtown is, there's all this redevelopment occurring, which is good. You know, there's buildings getting gutted and added onto, and new places going up. So obviously, there's a lot of contractors that are using the street and sidewalk area for their staging area. And Christy Schmidt's kind of our downtown person, liaison for folks, contractors, the DCP, we've got that monthly downtown issues task force. So, you know, we've kind of historically, we've kind of let these contractors and owners kind of have free reign of the street and sidewalk to do what they need to do, get in, do your work, and get out. But now, since it's ongoing and it's continuous and it's kind of here today, over there tomorrow, and it's not going to end, I don't think. So we're Christie's working on agreements for these contractors so we all are kind of working from the same page. Like, okay, you need to be here. How long are you going to be here? What are you going to close? How long are you going to close it for? So that's in its baby steps, but we've got the Block 9 developers agreement, the building right next door to the new city hall. Those folks have an agreement. So when people want to come in and close sidewalks and close alleys for dumpsters and whatnot, we're working to make that a more predictable pattern. So that'll be happening soon. I mean, it's ongoing, but it'll get refined. And then, if you have any questions on that, I can answer that.
Well, Jeremy, is there a way that we can get that communicated to retail, you know, the people who are being directly impacted, to let them know that these kinds of steps are being taken to address, and because basically this is addressing some of their major concerns?
Yeah, I think the best way to maybe bring them into the loop would be our downtown task force and maybe the DCP liaison
Yeah.
on that.
But that really isn't, you know, that's once every month, maybe, once every 2 weeks, maybe. But I think because this stuff seems to be occurring on a daily, hourly basis, so kind of almost like a hotline.
Well, I think it's really
be-
important that we
could it be-
indicate that we're doing something
Right,
about it, that we're
right.
not
So,
just
you know,
ignoring
but
it.
that's what, to me, the DCP's about. So, I mean, they've got all those people's contact information. So if there is something, as soon as we know it, let's have the DCP
Yeah.
relate that information.
Yeah, and Christie can
use them.
do that. If there's a
Right.
process, it's no,
So then we're
we
not-
know what's going on.
Right.
Because we get site plans and we review those and
So
demolition
then
permits.
it's kind of like a daily bulletin,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be.
you know, so, yep. What do you think?
So, Mr. Chair, I think what might not be a bad idea is at our city commission meeting to have, if Christie's back, have her get up and talk and say, we are aware of this issue, because I'm getting calls, and I'm sure all of you are, it's a thing. And so to let people know that we're working on it and we are aware of the problem and are going to address it. I think that's important, and even put something on the city website saying, but the one thing I will say is, this is a great problem, because for
Oh,
20 years, we did not have to
absolutely.
worry about construction issues downtown, because tumbleweeds were more of an issue than construction issues. So, do you know what I'm saying? But I do think we have to be sensitive and make sure we're not interfering with commerce. That's, I mean, if you can't get to your store for a retailer, that's a big deal. So,
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I'd like to have us do, just have an update at the commission meeting, because then at least gets a little more PR to it, if that makes sense.
Right, and
Yeah.
then, you know, how we will be communicating that information, I think it'd be important.
Yeah, you know, I hear you. So on street projects, it's pretty easy. I mean, we've got our press releases and we've got our website, and we even hire a firm to help us out on the bigger jobs. But that's been our dilemma for really ever. If somebody wants to come in and close the sidewalk tomorrow, well, how the people that are going to get affected know about it?
But again, you know, so we do have the Downtown Neighborhood Association with some pretty good contact list, and the DCP, so it's just a way to leverage information and people that are already in contact with each other. To me, and then also, as Dave mentioned, just have it static on the website, kind of a daily report, and then let the news people know. I mean, you know.
Exactly.
Right, and then they can, I mean, it's not going to be all that easy, but I think that if we just make it a habit, that just incorporate it into our daily work, it's not going to happen every day, but I think that just, it seems like we're always putting out fires instead of being proactive, so the sooner we can, you know, get the message out, the better off we'll be. And it's not a panic thing. I think you guys have done a great job on like 32nd Avenue, you know, what you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do on FargoStreets.com website,
Right.
there is a map, and we can, you know, bubble areas that there's work going on,
Right.
and then there's information you can put for people in that bubble. They'll zoom in and they can see what's going on, expected duration and whatnot. So that's easy, that exists, so we could easily
Great.
start to do that.
Good.
So the other thing I have is, I'm one of the project managers of the Main Avenue reconstruction, so final plans are gonna be done here next Friday. So, since you guys are the parking commission, there's 2 facilities in this stretch. So from Broadway to, basically the Red River is the project for next year. So that bid's March 9th, and then work will probably get started shortly, probably around April. Usually it's 4 weeks after bid date, so as early as first week in April. So they're probably gonna finish on Second Street, they're probably gonna finish on Broadway. So between those 2 intersections, that's where the bulk of the work will be happening this summer. So the surface lot on the north side, just off of Broadway. So there's going to be a period of time where we're going to have a temporary gravel access into that lot from Broadway, because there won't be access on the Main Avenue side. So we'll have to work for sure on the coordination efforts with that. And then the ramp on the south side will be affected less. Sidewalk on that side should be open during construction, so the people coming out of the ramp, coming to Main, they'll be able to go east and west when they get out. But those 2 facilities will be affected this summer.
So you're going to start that in what, April?
Probably the first 10 days in April, yeah.
And then you run through as late as you can? So
You know, I haven't, I've
You were
thought
going to
that,
try to do it all in one year, and you think it's going to take more? or-
well, we broke the project in 2 phases.
Yeah.
So west of Broadway, we're not touching. So we're going to do the intersection of Broadway this summer and east.
Yep.
And then west of Broadway goes the year after.
So, Mr. Chairman, this concerns me greatly as a politician, because Main Avenue, it's going to be closed completely. I'm telling you, that is, if we all drive on Main Avenue, picture that with no traffic on it. And so we need to have this be the most efficient and quickly done project in the history of Fargo, because if we don't, people are going to be, imagine if it was what happened on 10th Street this summer. It's still not done. And so we are going to have to, I think we need to have the bid be something where they get it done as quickly and as well as possible, because Main Avenue, that's one of the busiest streets, and so it's, and I know it's parking, but for the city of Fargo, man, this is, and then I'm really glad they broke it in 2, and they did that because of the retailers requesting that as part of the reason, because I think hopefully the side we're working on first is a little less retail impact, and so hopefully we'll get all the bugs out, because I think we should even consider having a bid where they work 24 hours or whatever, just to get this thing done. I don't know if you, I would like to hear because you're a lot of the downtown people. What do you think of that? And are you as concerned as I am about it?
Yeah, well, Jeremy, one of the things that we did when 10th Street underpass was being constructed was that left turn to get onto NP Avenue. And I know that that's in the works for the future. Is there any way, could that help relieve, gain access to, the core part of downtown? It doesn't get to Dave's question as much as the effect on Main, but there's going to be an effect on how we feed into downtown.
So this year, the detour will be Main Avenue to 8th Street and
Yeah.
up to NP, and
Right.
then NP over. So the detour is a lot less than it could have been, but the next project will be permanently creating that
Right.
northbound movement on University for a block.
Right, so I was wondering if that might be helpful for this part of the project.
No, it really, it would
And then-
always help, but
Yeah.
it's not in the plans.
Right.
But they can get to 8th Street, and that's where,
Also,
There's
the
good access
Park
there.
District has some parking that maybe we can see if we can work with them for, on that, by the pool. Because people are going to have to access those stores from the south side. And we may and will need to be evaluating what kind of hour zones do we want on, on those corridors that are going to be open during that time to, again, help so they aren't just parking there all day. I mean, we've expanded those into 4-hour zones, and if it's for retail, maybe we need to be thinking about 90-minute zones on those spots from the south, so they get the turnover that they need. But maybe we need to, well, and again, at your meetings with the retailers and stuff, it might be helpful if you made sure that Mark or Jim or one of the parking commissioners are there with you, just to, hear the ideas, just to open up those lines of communications to hear their ideas of what they might think.
Yeah, so there's going to be, so we've met with the Block 6 property owners and retailers a couple times in the last couple months. But in February or early March, the project's going to have a business advisory group as well for the whole area. Dave is right. There's not a lot of retailers in that stretch, but there's enough. So there will be a group. So it's a pretty heavy lift to do downtown reconstruction, where there's buildings. So the best we can do is we give them intersection max days per intersection, and they can't close Broadway and 4th at the same time. So they'll obviously take longer in the blocks, but we're going to limit the intersections. I think at Broadway it's right around 60 days, because there's a lot of work to do there. And then 4th Street, the same thing. So when they have to dig through there, we'll close it, give them maximum of days, and if they don't, then there's a disincentive. We start dinging them. So north-south travel it's not going to be great, but it's one of those two streets that will always be open.
Is it bid with a bonus and penalty?
There's no bonus.
Oh, okay.
Downtown work is very risky.
Yeah.
And DOT and Federal Highway aren't comfortable with all the unknowns that might occur. But the intersection stuff, we can put a disincentive in. I mean, those are pretty small areas.
So, Mr. Chairman, so there's no bonuses for early finishing?
No.
Is there, see, I really like that. I think that is there any way we can revisit that, or it's because it's a state highway thing?
Well, I can talk to them again. We were just in a meeting yesterday. They're not too comfortable with that.
I just think this needs to be done well and as good. The other thing is, this street hasn't been redone for over 100 years. So the underground concerns me greatly, what's underneath there.
Yeah. So if you remember when we did First Avenue North here with with City Hall, well, with the flood wall and then City Hall. I mean, that avenue, they have to come in and put 3 different pipes in. They dig deep to do the sewer, then they do a little bit less deep with the storm, and then the water main. So it's a gravel pit for weeks and weeks and weeks just putting in pipes. So, and then there's private utilities, the dry utilities that they have to work around. So downtown work is a challenge for contractors.
Jeremy, what's the disincentive or the penalty if they go over 60 days?
Usually our intersections, it fluctuates per project, but usually it's around, I want to say 25 or 3,500 a day. And that adds up pretty quickly. So that, like on 13th Avenue, for the last number of projects, we've given them like 10 or 14 days to get in and get out of there. So that's been effective to get the intersections closed and then reopen them. So that's the approach we'll take on this. I don't know that dollar number. We still have to figure that out.
Randy?
So Jeremy, the intersection at Broadway and Main, is that changing at all? Are we widening Main Avenue? Are we widening that area at all?
No, so this stretch of road, it'll end up just a 3-lane road, 1 lane each direction with the center left, and then there'll be parking on both sides of the road, and then the sidewalks will be basically 10 feet on each side.
Okay, and then when you go west from Broadway, University, is that going to be opened up? Is that going to be kept open when, I'm just thinking about traffic in and out of downtown, and even leaving downtown, you can use NP, take a left. Can we do a controlled light there at that, just temporary, to move some of that traffic? Because it's okay if you're going left there at 5 o'clock and there's only 4 cars, but if we're going to move a lot of traffic in that direction, we may need to halt some traffic.
You're talking NP at University?
NP going west to University.
Yeah, that's a really rough intersection. We've looked at a signal there, and I think that would just make traffic flow on University worse. So if you think about it, First Avenue North there's 2 lanes are making a southbound left, and then University, there's 3 lanes going south. So we have 5 lanes feeding into 3, and then you put a signal, a block downstream, the
Yeah.
funnel just backs up. I mean, I hear you, that's not a pleasant movement that you're talking about.
Right. And then the other thing is that hasn't been finished is NP Avenue itself and the underground, the street, and the timing on that, is there timing on that as well as the timing on Broadway, Broadway West? How is that all going to be affected? And because we're talking about building garages and we're talking about making changes. We're downtown and, creating some more development. So actually NP Avenue needs to be finished in order for the development of any additional ramps or any future development along that corridor.
Yeah, so our mindset is that once we're in Main Avenue, we really can't be on any parallel routes digging them up. So Main Avenue is scheduled for 2019 and 2020. So really the earliest, in all reality, would be 2021. We want to get into that area because the pavement's in poor shape. Buses don't do it any favors. So 3 years essentially from right now, it would be completed.
Right. Do you think that our corridor plan is still for NP and First, is that what you would work off of, or?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be a reduced section with the cycle track, either at grade or on sidewalk grade.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we know, so the other street we've been holding off on is 7th Avenue North. I mean, that's in really
Over there. but-
rough shape from University to the east. But we really can't do the parallel routes until Main is done.
And again, the access to the backside of the NDSU, I know it's a little thing, but
Yeah.
it's something to be working on now, just to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Thanks so much, Jeremy, for doing that. And Christie's going to give the commission an update, and we'll...
Christie or Brenda, they've been working hand in hand on the agreement.
Yeah.
On the agreements for folks.
Good. All right, and then next item is the ROCO Energy Ramp update. The project officially got confirmed in November, and then they've just finished up the paperwork with the Industrial Commission. So eSmart is the grantee, and they're the ones that are they're responsible for doing the work. The city owns the materials that are put in there, so they're gonna start with smart chargers and the battery first, and then the solar and the smart lighting controls will be being put in over the course of the next 6 to 8 months, I suppose. So we're going to have to come up with, we got, the city of Fargo is up, it's a $610,000 project. We have Microsoft and eSmart and Border States Electric and Xcel Energy as partners. And so the local share was $305,000, and then the state match is $305,000. The way that it works is the state gives you the money as you use it. And so to get started, we're going to need 25 grand from the parking fund so we can start, and then we'll get another 25 grand. It's $50,000 for the parking commissioner of the city of Fargo that we committed for this project. So Jim, we can talk about that
Yeah.
later.
We'll talk later on that.
Okay. Anything else?
I had a request, I'm sorry I didn't make it on the agenda. Kilbourne has a building over on 225 4th Avenue North, and they're requesting, and right now it's unlimited parking, they'd like some 4-hour zones and a couple 15-minute zones for their tenants.
So that's 4th Avenue, it's up by Woodrow?
225 4th Avenue North.
Yeah, I should have got back to you on that. Actually, that's been delegated to the planning department.
Oh, okay.
They can make those changes. They seem reasonable, so it's up to Mark, and I think they can work with engineering, just order those changes in. But you certainly give the parking commission a briefing on what that change will be.
Hey, Steve.
I think. Are we done with
What? Yep.
that item?
Yep. I gotta go in about 3 minutes, but go ahead.
The last time we met, we talked about fines, and Andy was going to be
Oh, yeah.
researching a little bit of what other cities do, but I think with the transition of him leaving, we weren't able to do that. This is what was in the packet from October. I don't know if we want to, we tabled it till this meeting. I don't know if we want to discuss that.
And maybe just to kind of jump in and kind of add to what Mark is saying, our work with Passport is coming to a close. We should be ready to kick off and go just with Passport now with both on-street and off-street, instead of using Duncan for the on-street. And so we kind of needed to know what the rates should be, and if they need to be the same, then that's fine, we can do that. The other thing that Andy had mentioned was like a second late fee. Currently, we charge one late fee. If it's not paid in 15 days, then we add a $5 late fee. Andy was proposing or thinking about possibly a second late fee, maybe another 15 days later or something like that. So in order for us to get it built and implemented, we kind of need to know where we're at with that. The other thing that I was thinking about currently, the off-street citations it's a $15 citation plus a $2 admin fee, so it's $17. I think it would be convenient, or it would be less confusing to people if both the on-street and off-street were at the same amount. So we could go off-street to 18 plus 2 and be at 20 if you wanted to stay with the on-street on 20.
So do we want to move on this today? It looks to me like Andy put together some of the ideas that we had talked about.
I'm not sure if I recall this right, but I think at the previous meeting, for sort of the discussion, that it seemed like this wasn't going to change people's behavior, and so it didn't make
sense to do
useful to do it, other than with
the $20 off-street.
with the admin fee. I think that wasn't addressed, so that may be the one thing we should talk about.
Well, I think one thing, though, is, we've got, incrementally has worked better than waiting 5 years and then jacking it up 10 years, and really...
And I think my reference was to the changing the amounts of the second and third and fourth violations, not what that initial one was, so I clarify that.
Well, there's a recommended motion. Does anybody want to make it?
Well, I can make that motion, to approve the parking citation fine increase and addition of a second late fee of $5 at 21 days, and to forward to City Commission for review and consideration of changes to ordinance number 1-0305, parentheses 12.
Do we have a second?
Well, I'll second it for discussion.
Sure. And then, does this include because it makes sense to me that we charge the same off-street as on-street, so is that language in here? I mean, what do we need to do to make that happen?
Maybe go over again, what's it on-street and what's it off-street, the amounts?
Currently, right now, all on-street citations are at $20, and we don't have the admin fee
Right.
on that. The off-street are at 15 plus a $2 admin fee, so they're at 17.
So when you look, so to me, we should add that to this motion if we're going to do that. Just, Jim, do you have an issue with that?
Are we going to increase the off-street, are we going to, what was your,
So
I'm
if
sorry,
we-
Steve.
if-
I
Well,
missed-
so I'm just kind of
Yeah.
picking up the ball here from,
No.
what Andy had, and, our initial discussions with Passport were that, they went in and set the rates so that they would reflect this change here that Andy's got. And really, if it feels, and I kind of get the feeling like maybe we're feeling like it's a little rushed, maybe we should,
It does feel rushed.
just kind of
So
back
would-
off and wait another year. I agree.
Well, do we need to wait a year, or can we do it next month or not?
I think my argument for some of this is we're going to have some violations in the downtown area because of all the construction that's going on right now. And, I probably wouldn't vote for the increase at this particular time because, sometimes people just need to park and they're going to get a violation. And I think right now, with everything we got going on, I would think we would just leave it and maybe do this at a later date.
I agree, it does feel
Or
rushed.
at least,
Yeah.
or at least discuss it
I
in
think
January
so
or
too.
February.
I think it
Yeah.
does feel rushed, but,
Yeah.
and I think we should consider whatever we decide on the first time is have off-street match it. So again, let's take it up another time.
Yeah, even having made the motion, I think I did it specifically for
Yeah, no.
discussion purposes, but I really think that with the dynamic that's already going on downtown, that this would be, really be
Yeah, let's keep it
Let's wait.
simple.
inappropriate, yeah.
Just real quick, I think we should maybe have the city attorney look to see if it's legal to have the off-street. So is that all the lots that the city owns?
Yeah, so
So I-
when we went to Passport, one of the reasons that we chose them was because they're managing, or, Interstate is using them for the off-street, and they had high recommendations. And we did have Nancy review.
Okay.
And so we are able to combine our data. So if somebody parks one day illegally in an off-street on a lot and gets a ticket, and gets a citation, and then the next day parks illegally on-street, those 2 tickets will go in and make them tow eligible then at that point. So we don't have to keep separate databases anymore, and everything is combined. We did have that,
Right.
that review done.
Doesn't sound like we have support. You want to call the question then?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all in favor of the motion, say aye. All against, say no. Motion fails, and we'll take it up and table it. Thanks.
So
Thanks,
Steve, you'll just
everyone.
hang on to
Just-
this information, so.
Sure, but just for
Yeah.
clarity, then no change off-street either? No. Okay, okay. We'll make sure they've got
Thanks.
everything loaded right.
Thank you.